when you were first considering taking the project on, what caught your imagination musically?
Well, first of all, the opportunity to work with a choir, I always love. Being a jazz musician and an instrumentalist, most of my work is with other instrumentalists. So anytime I get a chance to work with a choir, and then with the content of the material, we're talking about spirituals, and that's what I grew up with. People know me as a jazz musician, but I grew up in church. So we sang the hymns and the spirituals. I didn't sing, I listened to them. But so anytime I get a chance to work in a setting with something that has like a powerful story to tell, and not just a lot of the music we play is celebratory, and even this is going to be celebratory. But the content is what grabbed me, and I said yes, I would love to get a chance to work with a great choir, and then a classical vocalist. I grew up in a household where my father played classical piano. And so that's what we heard at the house growing up. He played Beethoven, Mozart, Schumann, and Schubert, and that's what we heard in the house growing up. Away from the house, it was just strictly church. So gospel music, and because I'm from Waynesboro, Georgia, it was not a jazz mecca, and so it's country music on the radio. But gospel and classical music is a part of the fiber of my being. So to get an opportunity to do a program like this, I'm always elated and excited about being a part of it.
Speaking of the classical vocalist, I know you had the opportunity to work and meet with Janae Bridges. We're so excited that she's coming. We know her voice is perfect. We know her persona is perfect. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you know about Janae?
I found out just getting with Janae to prepare to select the songs, and then to talk about the creating musically the story that we wanted to tell. And talking with Janae, the musical stuff was, the things, they were great. But then I come to find out that I'd worked with her before, and at a different setting. A friend of mine playing piano at church, and she used to sing at that church, and she attended school where I was teaching before at Manhattan School. I did not know her then, but it just goes to show how small the world is. Yeah. And she came to the apartment. We sat down and started talking about tunes and keys and that kind of thing. And after I met with you in Augusta, and she said, we met before. I was singing at the church at Arundel, another great pianist. I was playing, and I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Wow." I'm glad that I, behaved, and that I'm saying just left a good musical impression, because now we get the opportunity. When I got the call from Emily at Cammie, said, she'd worked with me before, and she knew that I recorded a gospel record, but it was heavily based in jazz. I hired jazz musicians that all grew up in church and had a similar church experience. So Janae grew up with that as well, but her training is classical. And it's been fun getting an opportunity to talk to her, because she said, wow, this concert is going to stretch me. And I said, well, and she said in a good way, but so we're going to do, the concentration is going to be spirituals, but some are going to be done in the classical style, like we're doing the music of Ravel and a Mahler piece that tells this story. Long before this was, what was happening in the United States, that this music was born out of, but it tells a similar story. And I said, wow. And now she says, I like you to do that. So we're going to do a Ravel piece, a piece by Mahler. We're going to do the spirituals, Low Country Voices going to sing. And then we have, the jazz, we have the musicians that are going to play. So we're going to cover 3 genres, including or outside of the spirituals themselves. And I asked Janae, I said, how do you feel about improvising? She said, just recently in New York, she did a few things. I was sitting at the piano, I said, hey, do that. And I think I'm going to talk her into it. She sang the perfect pitch. And again, as a part of her her upbringing, you know, in her youth. She grew up with that sound, so she kind of just fell right in. I was like, what was that? So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Another thing we're really excited about is two of the compositions that will be performed that night are going to be having their world premiere. They're your compositions.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about them?
Well, when you brought to me the slave dwelling projects, I've come to Charleston quite a bit, and even in Savannah, and I met folks from, the only thing that separates the culture is just a state line. Mm-hmm. I mean, when getting the opportunity to write about this, I read the poem or the excerpt that you brought me from Joe McGill's book. Prince and Clay, and that last line that says something, we were here, tell our stories. So one song that I had written already was called We're Still Here, and He's All Right, we're going to close with, and then we were trying to come up with a name for the program, and I said, Janae, and she sent me about 6 titles. Still We Rise was one of them, and then I like that. Then you said you like. I said that's it. That's the title of the piece. So then I had to get to writing, and it's going to be done almost like a classical aria. And we didn't get a chance to work on that tonight. But we'll get to work on that with the choir. It's not much to teach them, but she's going to sing in between 3 songs. We're going to tell the story of the Prince and Clay. The first part is about the children, and the second part is the adults. It's going to be classical-ish, kind of almost like a lullaby. But it's going to talk about, the children laugh, the children play. Mm-hmm. What is this, the Prince and Clay? What does this mean? What does this say? Could it be the children were slaves? And then there's another verse, and I'm still in writing, and it's a pretty song, but it's talking about an ugly situation. Mm-hmm. And then we change, and then we deal with the adult song, which we did go over a little bit tonight, just the choir parts. But I tried to find my way, and it's all about reaching for that place that we eventually get to, where we celebrate, even though we've lived through those difficult times, but we celebrate how we have come through it. And that's when the choir will be the choir, and it says, we're still here. The first piece is Still We Rise. And I'm going to kind of tell the story, then he heard my cry, because we're crying through all of this. And then we're still here, and at the end, he's all right. And it will be a celebration of how we have the resiliency of those folks, and that's just it. But those are the 2 new pieces. Still We Rise, and He Heard My Cry.